Morning, everybody. Good morning. Friends, relatives, my wife Ann's here, thank you. Fellow entrepreneurs, many people I know already in the room. It's great to be here with you this morning. My story starts in 2007. The story I'm going to tell you today starts in 2007. It started with a desire to have some acreage, some land. Ann and I always wanted 100 acres of land. We wound up buying 580 acres of land in Wharton County in 2007. We were very fortunate to get that. And on Easter Sunday of that year, my brother-in-law and I rode out there, and he said, I would put some grass out here. He was a successful turf farmer at that time, turf grass farmer. And he said, I would put some grass out here. And I thought to myself, really? Okay, good idea. Well, when somebody plants a seed in my head, it just tends to grow and stay there. And so over the next 3 or 4 months, I thought about it. I said, I think I'd like to do that. I think I'd like to be in the turf grass business. I grew up in the tire business, and turf and tire are pretty damn easy you could change the name on the side of the truck pretty darn easy to turf. And so I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go in the turf grass business. And so I started signing contracts and getting people lined up to level 85 of my 580 acres for turf grass. So we get the ground leveled, we get the irrigation put in, I buy a bunch of equipment, and all the while my beautiful wife Ann is supporting me through this. And at about $300,000 into that investment, if you remember, about the time my grass was ready to grow in 2009, my grass was grown in and ready to sell, we had the mortgage crisis that basically sent the whole housing business into a tailspin. It was basically all of the mortgages that had been done, that whole 2008, 2009, 2010 mortgage meltdown meant no houses were being built. So in 2009, I had beautiful grass. I had $300,000 invested to have that beautiful grass, and I had no one wanting to buy my grass, okay? Even the people that I had aligned with before and set up with before to buy it, no one wanted it. They said, we can't sell our own. We don't want yours. Well, finally, in the early spring of 2010, a small grass farm in Bowling, Texas contacted me and said, we would like to buy some of your grass. So I started selling a little bit of grass. By the summer of 2010, folks at King Ranch called me. At King Ranch Turf, they had been in business about 5 years, the big King Ranch people. They said, look, we'd like to buy about 30 acres of your grass. And I said, sure. Well, I knew what my selling price was for the grass because I had sold a little bit of it to this small farm in Bowling. So I marked it up in my head 20%. And I told them that was the price of the grass. And they said, sure, that sounds good, because you have beautiful grass. I should have marked it up 30 or 40%. But, that's the way it goes, right? So live and learn. Anyway, they come and they take 30 acres of grass within 2 weeks. Ann and I put a big check in the bank, and that keeps us afloat for a while. Along the way, I meet another 2 brokers. One was now my neighbor, but at the time wasn't, and another one by the name of Danette Hoover, Mustang Creek Turf. And I say her name because today she is the exclusive broker on my property. She's the only one that I sell my grass to. And then she brokers it out to others, to landscapers, to home builders, and what have you. So my part of the job is to raise the grass, and then her part is to sell it and harvest it and deliver it, which it sounds like she's got the biggest part of it. And she does. We both have a big chunk in it, but it works really well. That relationship started in 2011 and now is 15 years old. And what I've learned is that when you partner with somebody long-term, you ride through the rough spots. Now, 2005 was a rough spot because housing starts were really low. We lost money in 2005 at the turf farm, okay? I'm just gonna be honest. Every other year since 2010, we've made money, but last year we didn't. I decided to join the Pearland Chamber. I decided to start getting the word out and help my broker get the word out about our grass farm. So today, if you ask me about grass, I just send you to my broker, but at least I'm out there actively doing it. I used to leave it all to her to do, and now I'm here with you. And I'm doing that because we need to get the word out that we have the best grass in town. In fact, here's how we say it. We say this. We say, we sell grass with no weed in it. Now, sometimes I can deliver that and sometimes I can't. But the truth is that that's our goal, to deliver the best possible grass that you can be. I grew up in the tire business. Michelin was the best. Well, we have Michelin grass. We have the best. And so that was always my vision, to have that. But we certainly went through some tough times. And it's just weathering the storm. It's having your spouse to back you up is very important, as you entrepreneurs know. She's got to be involved, or he's got to be involved. And you can't do it alone. You have to have others help you. And I certainly did have other farmers helping me along the way. So, yeah. Let me see what this.
Oh, yeah, I guess I thought you had a presentation.
No,
But you didn't.
no.
So you don't have to click that. So we'll just go back. Okay, still done.
That's me.
Still done. Still him. Okay.
So,
there you go. So now we will open that up to questions. So thank you. Let's give him a hand for our. Yep. So let's open it up for questions. Got the first one in the back right there.
yes.
Considering 2025 was a down year, did you consider ever going direct to consumer? I know it's a lot more overhead and time, but you could do.
Great question, David. I can't do that because I'm a tax exempt farmer. I have to sell through a broker in order to maintain my tax exempt status. Another barrier to that would be I'd have to have my own equipment to harvest, and then I'd have to arrange transportation. And I just don't want to do those things. Those are not in my wheelhouse. So, yeah, thanks. It's a good question. Yes?
I have a question about, you said in the beginning, you were growing this grass and you had potential buyers.
Yes.
And then they backed out.
They did.
Did you consider contracts? Did you just not know anything about contracts at the time? Or?
Yeah, at the time, we didn't do it. Farmers are handshake people, and we were handshake people. In fact, it was a well-known philanthropist family that was the family I was dealing with at the time. I'm not going to say their name, but I bought my planting stock from them. They planted it for me. I was grateful for that. But then the arrangement was that they were going to buy from me, and they did. They bought maybe 5 truckloads the whole time, because they couldn't sell their own. So at the end of the day, yes, we could have done that, but I don't think that it would have mattered that much in my case because they had no market. They had no market to go to.
Has that changed your mind about being a handshake person?
No, it never did, because I still believe in the personal relationship.
Sure.
I really do. And among farmers, we still have that. In fact, today, my neighbor and tenant on the rest of my land is a turfgrass farmer. Now, we do have a lease, okay? But as far as anything else, it's all just handshakes. Yep. Yep. Yes, Matt.
What kind of grass? You didn't say.
Oh, I didn't say it. Okay.
And the makeup, how much?
Yes, very good, Matt. Good question. That's my good friend, Matt Fleming, ladies and gentlemen. We have Raleigh, St. Augustine. We have 65 acres of Raleigh, St. Augustine, which is just your standard St. Augustine. Now, there's many other variations of St. Augustine. Most have to be grown under license. Well, I chose Raleigh because they don't have to grow it under license. I don't have to pay a royalty fee when I sell it. And then I have 22 acres of Tifway 419. And Tifway 419 is a fine leaf Bermuda grass that was a hybrid that was developed for the Astrodome. It was developed in the early 60s so they would grow inside the Astrodome and be a beautiful field. And it did. It grew well. The players complained about the skylights. They painted the skylights, and the grass didn't get enough light, and it died. And so AstroTurf was invented to replace it. But the Tifway 419 is a great fairway grass. It's a great lawn grass. In fact, it's mandated in San Antonio and Austin because it's drought tolerant. It has a deep root, and developers in Austin and San Antonio are mandated not to plant St. Augustine grass since it takes a lot more water. So Tifway 419 is just a wonderful, wonderful grass, but 22 acres of that. That's the 2 varieties I have. Now, if you want a different variety, as I mentioned, I have my neighbor and tenant who has 1,800 acres of grass and many, many varieties. So if you contact me, I'll hook you up with them. If you want a Palisade, Bermuda, or whatever you want, I can hook you up with that, with the grass. So call me, and I will make sure you get your grass.
Is your customer like a homeowner? Like what your broker is looking for? They're looking for homeowners?
Builders.
They're looking for commercial?
Builders and landscape companies. So in some cases, HOAs as well, but mainly builders who then contract to have it laid out. And, understand, when a home is finished, they want to try to get it on the market as quick as they can, but the last thing you want to do is put the grass down and run over it again. So they do the grass last. So it's got to be there on time, overnight. So most of our grass is shipped overnight to either Houston or to sometimes Laredo. There's a lot of houses in Laredo have our grass, as well as Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin. So our grass goes everywhere, but mostly Houston. Mostly the Houston area. Yes?
Ask the landscaper in the room, who's your realtor?
It's Mustang Creek, Danette Hoover. And I'll give you her contact information. But yes, we'll hook you up.
Well, I'm not actually the landscaper, he's here, I'm just his
Okay.
business partner.
Okay, sure, certainly. Yes, Tammy.
So I have a question. So just the process of this, like, how do you like, I
Lift
can
the-
pull my weeds that are, in my grass all the time, or I don't really have grass, I have more weeds. But when you pull this up, like, how do you get it, like the process of it? I mean, is that like?
As far as harvesting the grass?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious how that actually works.
Well, in the 1940s, turf grass was harvested by hand. You'd have field workers out there with shovels, and they would slice it up and pick it up and lift the sod. Well, that was terribly inefficient, and it produced very little volume. So in the 50s, some of the farmers along the Texas coast developed machines that were tractor mounted. They could mount a machine on the side of a tractor, and that's what's primarily used today. There are automated machines that one driver can drive and pick up the sod, and it stacks it automatically. There are those machines out there. Those are around $250,000 for that kind of machine, whereas the manual type harvester that actually takes 3 people on a little tractor, which is what we use, is a lot more labor intensive, but not as expensive. It's quite a lot less cost. There's people often ask me how much is on a pallet. There's 50 square yards on a pallet, so that's 450 square feet on each pallet. Okay, so when you figure your square footages out, you can just divide by 9, and you'll know exactly how many yards you need or how many pallets you need.
And it weighs how much?
It weighs a lot. It weighs a lot. Now, the weight depends on how much moisture's in it. Usually, we try to keep the moisture pretty high, anywhere from 3,000 to 3,200 pounds per pallet.
And it takes a long time to put out.
It's very labor intensive, as this lady knows, and anybody that's laid sod, most of us have actually done it, I think, and it's, you want to make sure you have plenty of beer and plenty of friends. And don't tell them you're laying grass. Just tell them it's a beer party. Oh, and you can wear work clothes.
So what's the biggest secret to having a beautiful, well-maintained lawn?
Very good question. I get asked this question by my really close friends a lot. Fungicide. There's fertilizer and there's fungicide. Remember 2 dates. Today is April 15th. It's tax day, but it's also fungicide day. Put your fungicide out today. And I'm talking, now when I say that, I'm talking about St. Augustine grass. This pertains just to St. Augustine. But St. Augustine grass needs fungicide twice a year. It needs it in August 15th, September 15th. It's better to do 2 treatments. You'll prevent.
April 15th and September 15th, not August and September.
Well, we start August 15th, and then we do another application in September, on September 15th. We do 2 applications, and sometimes 3, depending on if it's really a wet year. But what we're trying to do is prevent brown patch. We're trying to prevent any diseases that attack the plant. Well, a lot of people think fertilizer and water is going to do their lawn green. And it's true, it does work. But when you add fungicide, it's like going to the doctor and getting a shot of penicillin. It gets rid of whatever's in there. And so fungicide is like penicillin for grass. Your grass is going to be happy, healthy, and you're going to have the greenest stuff. So if you want to outgreen everybody on your block, make sure you put your fungicide out. And believe me, there's plenty of people that are competitive with their grass. Now, if you're talking about Bermuda grass, the best thing you could possibly do is make sure your Bermuda grass is rolled really, really flat. You can rent rollers. You want to make sure that grass is super flat. And then, if you can afford it, use a reel mower to cut it, okay? This is what golf courses use. Now, it's not very popular. They're hard to sharpen. But if you really want it to be perfect, use a reel mower on Bermuda grass, okay? If you have a small lot, you can probably afford to do it. You can grow that grass absolutely wonderfully beautiful. Cut it, about 3/4 to an inch tall, and you'll have the prettiest grass in terms of Bermuda out there. Now, when things turn bad and things go, water rationing happens or whatever, if you've got Bermuda grass, it'll turn brown, but it won't die. If you have St. Augustine grass and it turns brown in the summertime, it's dying, okay? Because its roots are only about an inch deep, whereas Bermuda grass is 6 inches deep. So the Bermuda grass is going to just sit there and just be dormant, and then it'll come back no sooner the rains come back. St. Augustine's probably not going to do that unless you can keep water on it, okay? So that's why the restrictions are in San Antonio and Austin, because they have water, really, really tough water supply situations. Hey, Aaron. Good to see you.
So when taking out, right, you're taking out the sod, right, taking out the grass, that would mean you have to also replenish the soil, right? So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of soil that would have to be involved in the thing.
Right, Aaron. Aaron asked you one of the questions I got asked early on. How do you maintain the height of the field? Well, you don't. When you sell turf grass, if you notice turf grass farms, they're always going to look like they're just a little bit lower, because we do lose some soil, and we get some of it back, but we don't get all of it back. And where it comes from is cuttings. It comes back from the winds. If you ever notice, if you have a pool, you know how much stuff blows into your pool. Well, it blows back into the farm, but none of that replaces the actual amount that we actually take out, Aaron. So, yeah, we do actually drop over time. And so there's a certain life to a field that it can be cut on. In our case, we have a pipeline that goes through our field. So we have to maintain a certain height above that pipeline. So at some point, we will be at our maximum for that. And then a part of our field won't be able to be used. But that's in the future at some point. Yes, Lydia?
Do you, I guess, farm all of it every year, or do you do certain sections each year, or?
100% of it every year. It's always growing. It's always being pushed to grow. We're always fertilizing, putting out herbicides, trying to keep the weeds out, and that's a constant thing. But yeah, 100% of it all the time. Trying to grow it back as fast as we can. Which oftentimes people ask me, how long does it take to grow back after you cut it? Well, on both of them actually, but Raleigh or St. Augustine, it takes about 8 months. If you cut it, say, in March, 8 months, say October, it'll be grown back in. Now, if you cut it in October and have to go through the winter, it's going to be June before it's ready, because it just takes that much longer. The wintertime, you're not going to get any growth. Whereas with the Tifway 419, the Bermuda grass, it'll actually grow from you can cut it out solid, and it'll grow back from the roots in about 6 to 7 months under ideal conditions. It's a lot faster. Yes, Katja?
So I have multiple questions. My first question is a follow-up on Aaron's question. What's going to happen? What is your plan for the future when you actually max the limit of your field?
Well, I'm hoping that I retire before that's my thing. I have, to give you, right now I have 44 inches above the pipeline, and they will let me go down to 30. So I've got another 20 years or so in that field, but I intend to retire in about, Ann's listening now. I intend to retire in about 6 to 7 years. So what I'm going to do at that point, Katja, is I'm going to lease that field to my neighboring tenant, and then he'll farm it as long as he can downward. So, which will be another at least 20 years, 25 years, I would think.
Yeah, my another question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So what was the most successful year with the turf business, and also what caused this success?
Well, I think I can't answer your question specifically, but the period between 2016 and up until COVID hit was a very, very nice period. We did really, really well. Houses were selling, our grass was selling. We were running out of grass every year, and that's what we want to do. We want to run out, and we were running out consistently. And so we thought that was going to continue forever. But then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, it didn't hurt the grass business. It actually helped it, because everybody stayed at home and wanted to work on their yards. The problem was we didn't have enough grass in production in the state of Texas, and so everybody was out of grass. We didn't have it. I couldn't have sold it. I could have sold it for more, but I didn't have it because the demand was so high, artificially high because of COVID. So at that point, we're starving for inventory. That's keeping our sales from happening. So there's just a certain amount of revenue we can generate based on our growth rate. And I'm talking about the growth rate of the plants. And so there's a maximum that we can hit. But that period from 2016 to 2018 was really a great period for us, that time span. Yes?
Yeah, and my third question, have you ever talked to your broker working with sport organizations or any cities because they need to replace grass, or construction companies, when they do work, they need grass replacement?
She primarily focuses on home builders. So that's kind of always been her target market. And she has a turf farm about the same size as mine. And so basically when she has grass and I don't, she's selling from her farm and vice versa. So her numbers have always been pretty well balanced by selling to home builders. But in this case, now we're looking at a situation where we don't sell enough houses. So I'm open to anything and giving her any leads that I can. So, yeah. Yes, Lydia?
You said that you have to deliver like overnight, so are
Yes.
you limited to where in Texas or?
No, we can go to Louisiana if we need to, and some grass does eventually wind up in Louisiana, but
Well,
very,
Texas is so big, I forget we have some that are closer in our state.
yeah. There's been some grass that's gone to Louisiana, but most of it stays here. But you want it overnight because you have to remember this is a perishable thing. It's a live plant, and now we're stacking it so it's not getting sunlight. And it's going to start to yellow. So a maximum of 2 days on a pallet in the summertime. You can go 3 or 4 in the wintertime, but a maximum of 2 days on that pallet. So when we cut it, it's sitting there. It's got to be picked up, and then it's got to be transported. So by the time it gets to its destination, it's already 24 hours old, and then hopefully the crew is there to lay it that next day. If they're not, they can still lay it the next, it can skip a day, but then you start running into yellowing problems and customer acceptance problems. You don't want that. And by the way, when you lay grass, especially in the summertime, you need to water it for 21 days. If you ever buy any sod, turf from Home Depot or whatever, make sure you keep it moist for 21 days until it can root in. It takes that, and then it'll be beautiful. Once it's rooted in, it'll take care of itself. But you need to keep it really nursed along in intensive care for 21 days.
So I know you had a question. Go ahead and ask him, and then Abraham, last two right there, real quick.
Yes.
All right, so when you first started, like, how did you find clients that are looking for grass specifically? Like, did you have the broker already, or?
Well, as I mentioned, my brother-in-law was in the business, and he's the one that put the bug in my ear to do it. He had contacts, and so those contacts were the people I just went to. And there were people that I actually knew because I grew up in that community originally, and so it was people that I knew, and so it was pretty easy for me to connect to the people I need to connect to. So I had that in a way, but I did have help, and I think that's so important for us to all remember that we all need help to get started, and we need help along the way all the time, And I think that's what's so beautiful about this and the chamber, is having that connection to other entrepreneurs, because not only with ideas, but maybe some of you are customers. Who knows? So yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Yeah, last question right there.
Yeah. So when you first started with the 2008 crisis and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right? You mentioned that there is like a downturn in business right as you were starting out.
Correct. My timing sucked.
Not your fault.
No, but it sucked.
Hey, so one, how did you manage the stress of that? Because I'm sure that was very stressful. And two,
Well,
what on God's green earth kept you hanging on?
Right. What kept me hanging on, is a great question, was the fact that I had my car wash business. I still was in the tire business, and my wife had a great salary at Chase. that kept me going.
What made you want to hang on to this one?
Well, and that's even better question from the standpoint of I just believed in myself, and I thought that whatever it is, I can make it work. I've always believed in myself, and I think that's super important. If you ever noticed, if you have a really hard problem, any of us in this room, these are all special people, entrepreneurs. If you have a really hard problem and you really work on it, you can always solve it. And I have that deep feeling that I could, and I knew that sooner or later it would work. I didn't know how long it was going to take. But when King Ranch showed up, I thought, it's not going to take as long as I thought. So, anyway, anybody, anything else on that?
Yeah, how did you manage the stress?
How did I do it, Ann?
Lovely wife.
Hey! I'm a man of faith. I'm a man of faith, and I just prayed. In fact, when I lost my original employee, he was retiring, I prayed for 6 months to find the right employee. But at the time that you're talking about, I just prayed, and I prayed daily, and I did that for the employee, and the employee showed up too, like the world's greatest employee I have now, like the world's greatest. I'm serious, like the best. And so, anyways, the bottom line is, I think it's faith. It's what got me through, and my beautiful wife.
So we do have one last question for you. So how can we as a community help you?
If you know of anybody that wants turf grass in volume, I'd love to have you contact me because we can supply it or we can find it for you. So if you know of anybody that wants it, please let me know.